Hi there, this is Vahid from VRF Education channel, and today I'm going to continue our discussion about how to create GUI for Python application automatically. In previous session, we talked about an idea that's going to help us achieve this goal. Believe me or not, creating GUI for Python application is a tedious task, and most of the time you need to spend a lot of time to create a dialog or a form and put a bunch of widgets on that dialog and then bind an object to those widgets to enable a user see the current state of one object and then gather some input from the user and save them back to the object. This is a process, and most of the time we need to do it in a repetitive manner. So this library is going to help us. So what does it mean? If you didn't see the first session, I recommend to see that video first and then come back and continue on this session. The main focus of the first version is to create GUI for Python application based on the fields of an object. I know this is not a good way to access object fields from outside the class based on the object-oriented principle, but I have to add this ability to my library. And right now in this session I'm going to add the support for creating GUI based on the object properties. The best way to access object states is properties, so currently this library is supported. So I created a person class, and inside the constructor I initialize or I add a couple of fields with different types to this class. So I want to show you how this library gonna react to different types. Based on each field types, I'm gonna add appropriate widget on the form. So if I want to create a typical GUI for this class, something like this is good. All the fields or the public fields are shown on the form, and the field values are displayed inside appropriate or related widgets. For example, for a string I use QLineEdit, for double values I use QDoubleSpinBox, for list I use list widget, for dictionaries I used QTable widget, and also for list and dictionaries I add some predefined tools for editing, adding and deleting values from this table or this list. So these are done just with one line of code. And also, if your object has an instance of another object inside itself, I'm going to show the str output of that object in one label, and in front of that I put a browse button. So when you click the browse button, another dialog will be appeared, and you can see the content of this field in that dialog. And also, if that object also has another object instance inside itself, you can put or press the browse button and another dialog will be opened. And this process can be done infinitely. As a developer, if you want to create such GUIs inside your application, you need to spend a lot of time. It's really a time-consuming task and a tedious task for developers, because most of the time you need to challenge with the backend codes, not just with creating GUI for objects. You need to put widgets on the form, layout them, change the name of the widgets, bind the object to the GUI in a two-way to read and write from the object and to the object. And also when you when the object has some other objects instance inside itself, you need to create other dialog or other GUI for those objects also, and then try to connect them with these buttons, with these browse buttons when they press the appropriate dialog shown. And also you need to add the support for deleting, adding, and also editing items inside the list widget or table widget. This is really tedious task. So how pyqt generator library gonna help us? This is very easy. First of all, you need to create an instance of a class and then pass that object to create GUI method of pyqt generator class. As a result, a dialog instance will be returned, and you can simply show it, call the show method on that dialog. The result is something like this. So you create a complex object with different widgets, with different capabilities, with just one line of code, this line of code. So in this session, I'm gonna show you how the second version of this library gonna support properties inside a class. As you might know, properties are the best way to access object fields or object states. So this library should be able to work with properties. With properties, you should annotate the setter part of the property to let the pyqt generator class create widgets for that specific fields. And also with this annotation, you can customize the widgets. You can use some properties for the widgets, the properties that are accessible through the Qt Designer property editor part. You can use most of them, and I'm going to show you how you can do this. And in future, I'm going to add the support for other properties, other special properties to the annotation. And also, you can change the default widget for the object types. For example, instead of using QSpinbox for integer values, you can use QSlider or QDial or even a label. You can customize or change the widgets. So let's go to VS Code and check what I am going to show you in this session. In previous session, we got familiar with the basic functionalities of pyqt generator first version. In that specific version, we focus on creating GUI for an object inside an application automatically based on the fields inside the class. So to use this class, we need to call createGUI method and pass an object to that method. As a result, a QDialog object returned, and we can call the show method. For example, here if I run the application, you can see a form returned, and I can show it and I can work with that dialog. All the field inside the class with the values that I used here shown inside this dialog. And we can change the values. For example, change it to another name. It's Persia, Sarah. Change the age, for example, 33, 5.8 as the height. She's not a male, and I'm not going to change the date. You can see the previous session video to see the whole functionalities, and you can also get rid of all these values and enter new values, for example, course 1, for example. And also you can change the values inside the dictionary using a QTable widget. For example, I'm going to change them to 1 through 3 and then get rid of 2 and add, for example, for September 100. And also, if there's another object inside the current object, it's going to use the str output in a label, and another button appear here, the detail button. If you press the detail button, you can change that specific field value inside another form. For example, I'm going to remove all these numbers and add, for example, let's cancel this one and try it one more time. I'm going to change it to 444, 555. And remove it, and then 666. I'm gonna use all the functionalities. So you can see change are applied here to the source object, and if I press OK, everything changed, those changes that I made to the real object. And you achieve all of these without need to write any line of code. So that is the beauty of this library. But what about the limitations? In object-oriented perspective, we should not allow to change the object state, object fields, from outside the class directly. So it's recommended to use some accessor methods in some programming languages such as Java or C++, or the property mechanism inside Python. It's recommended to change the object state through the property mechanism. So in this session, I'm going to show you how we can use property in Python to create a GUI in much more flexible way. Another limitation with the first version approach is that when I create a GUI, it goes and check the field type, and based on the type, it's going to add appropriate component or appropriate widget on the form. For example, for age, it's an integer value, so I add QSpinbox on the form with the default properties. So it means that you cannot enter a number more than 99 in the QSpinbox because it's the default value for Spinbox when we use it in pyqt. So if you go to Qt Designer and add a Spinbox on the form, you can see in property editor it says that the maximum number is 99. So we should find a way to change this property for widgets also. Using property inside the Python class, we can achieve this goal and customize the widget based on what we need. And also we can change the widget. For example, here I can use QSlider instead of using QSpinBox. Okay, these are the beauty of using property in Python classes. And this is also object-oriented principle to use property to change the object states. Okay, let's go and check what property bring for us in the next version of this library. First of all, I'm going to comment all these fields, and also I'm going to comment this $str. Okay, here I'm going to create another private field by putting $, in front of the name, and I'm going to call it age again. It's equal to 10. Oh, it's 35, my current age. So in order to access this field from outside of the class, we should define property. If you're not familiar with property, I suggest to watch a video about it. I have a video about this topic in object-oriented. You can watch it, or even another source to get familiar with that. So for property, first of all, I'm going to create a method called age. It's an object level method. Here I'm going to return self age. So in order to convert it to a property, you should annotate it with property decorator. So this is the getter part of the property. So what about the setter part? For setter part, you should use the property name and then .setter. And after that, we should create age method one more time. Now we should pass a value or a parameter that contains the current value for that specific property, and here I'm gonna assign it to age without any business logic or another thing. We use setters to apply some logic on object assignment. What does it mean? For example, if we want to assign a negative value to age, for example here equal to -10, we can prevent it here inside the setter, so we can check the value if it's less than 0, so we can raise an exception. Age could not be, for example, a negative. Right now we don't need to do that. So here, if you want to use pyqt generator to create automatic GUI for application or for your object, you should annotate your input parameter, the value. To annotate something in Python property, you should put a colon here, and in a string try to provide some information about that specific parameter. So here I'm gonna use a parameter inside that string named widget. Here I'm gonna use QSpinBox. This means that, hey, this is a property, and to realize it or to add a component on the output, you should use QSpinBox. Okay, if I run the application, you can see, okay, the age is shown here, and the spinbox also appeared. And if I press a couple of times page up, you can see its maximum number is equal to 99, as it was before with the field approach. So how can I change this parameter? You can use all of these parameters inside that annotation string with the same notation. For example, here we have a camel case, so you should use camel case also in that notation. Here I'm going to change the maximum number. You put a comma, it's a comma separated value, and maximum, name the parameter, and then apply the value that you want to have. For example, I'm going to use 200. Now if I run the application one more time, you can now enter value more than 99 and less than 20 also. So if I press OK, oh, I forgot to return it back, self.h. Also, inside the class, use the property instead of that restricted or private field, because we might use some logic inside the getter part of the property. So it's recommended to use the getter part or the property inside the class also. So if I run the application one more time and change it to, for example, 200, if we press OK, you can see just like before, it applied to the object itself. Now, for example, you can use for suffix also, suffix. It's another property of QSpinbox, and pass YR as the value for this property. If I run it, you can see 35 year is or YR applied here. And on the other hand, if you want to use some properties such as this, for example, button symbols, the value is read from an enum. How we should use it? If I press F1 or calling help, let's copy this one and paste it here. Let's go back to help. Here it says that the value for this property is from this enum. It has 3 different values, so I want to hide the controller button. Now, you should use the same enum as we used inside the pyqt. Okay, if I go back here and paste it. Now, if I run the application, those buttons gone, and it looks like a normal Q line edit without being able to enter alpha character inside the box. So you can just press numeric values inside this box, because it's a spin box, it's not a Q line edit. We just hide the controller button. Now, what if I want to add a spin box on the form instead of a slider? I'm sorry. What if I want to add a slider on the form instead of a spin box? You can here just name the widget QSlider. And again, maximum is the one of the property for QSlider. If we checked it here, slider, it has also maximum property. By default, it's 99, and now it changed to 200. And if we provide some properties that is not specific for that widget, it will be ignored on the background. We use it, but it will be ignored by the pyqt itself. So we can change them and we can delete them. Let's get rid of them. Now, I changed the widget to be a slider, not a spin box. What happened? Okay, here we have a slider on the form, and we can slide it from 0 to 200. So it's by default a vertical slider. We can change it by using orientation. Orientation. It's also another property for Qt slider. Let's see what is the value comes from. If I press F1, it comes from Qt orientation. So we can use Qt horizontal instead of Qt vertical, or let it be as the default. Okay, I run it one more. Let's stop it and run it one more time. Now the slider changed to the horizontal mode, and you can slide it. For example, if I put it on at the end, you can see the value 200 is applied to the object also. And I also add another customized property to this specific widget. The name is show label equal to true. If you use this property on QSlider, a label will be attached to the slider, and if you change the slider position, you can see the value also changed in the label. If you want to do it in Python or in Qt Designer, it will a little bit hard to do that. You should add a vertical or horizontal layout, and after that you need to connect the signal from this widget to a slot of the Q label, and etc. And if you press OK, you can see the value applied to the object. And if I change it to vertical, and run it, you can see again we have the label beside the slider, and the value will automatically change. Again, we can change and use any display, any widget that can display value here. For example, I want to add, or I want to show the value inside the Q label. It's a read-only variable. So here you can see the the value of the age, but you cannot change it because it's a Q label. And on the other hand, let's get rid of them. We don't need orientation and the other stuff. I want to show the progress of something, so we can use QProgress bar. And if you run it, you can see it's about 100% of the progress bar because it's maximum set to 200. If I change it to 100 and run it one more time, it's equal to the value 35% of the progress bar is filled because the age is 35, and it's also read-only. And we can change it also to QDial, another stylish widget on pyqt or on Qt. It's a QDial, and you can change it. If you press OK, the changes are applied to the object also because the maximum number is 100. And also for dial, you can use show label again. If you set it to true, a label will be shown. What's happened? Oops, you should use a comma here. A label will be shown under the QDial, and if you change the value, it will be updated automatically, and also the value will be saved inside the age property automatically. Or you can use QLCD number. This is another way to show the values. It's it's like digital output, and you can also change the base of the value. For example, by default it's decimal. You can change it to binary by changing the mode property, and also it's read from an enum. If we run the help, it says okay, mode is come from QLCD number.binary, double quotation binary, double colon binary. And if I used it, for example, I'm gonna change the mode to something like this, and if I run the application, you can see 30. Oops, something went wrong. Oh, let's delete them. If I run it, it's equal to 35. So something went wrong. What's happened? If I change it to 10, let's see what's happened. And for 35. So for 35, it's not working. Why? Let's change it to, for example, 15. Yeah, it's equal to 4 ones in the binary system. But what if for 30, for example? Yeah, it's also correct. And for 34, it's really strange. 33. Oops, I think I know. Oh, because if we use 32, no, for 31 it works. Yeah, it's equal to 5 ones, because maybe here we said that digit count equals to 5. So I'm gonna change it also. Let's copy let's copy the name. Oops. And here I'm gonna change digit count equal to, for example, 8. And if I run it one more time, it's true for 35. I'm gonna change it to 35. And if I run it one more time, no, it's not set to true. So what is the problem? Let's check it inside the Qt designer. Here I'm gonna use 35 as the value, and I'm going to change it to binary. Digit count, I'm going to change it to 9. So let's change it to decimal or X. They all works, but for binary it's now works. Let's change it to 9 here and run it one more time. No, it's not changing. Why? I don't know. let's say I'm gonna see in hex. Yeah, it changed 23, and it has something with the pyqt, I think. Let's change it to pyqt also. Yeah, it's changed. And now I'm gonna let's change it back to binary. No, it's not working. So let's get rid of that, and I will check it in future. And also you check it if you know something. Let me know about this specific thing. So this is all about showing numeric values on the form using property and annotation, and annotate also that property. The next thing that I want to focus is let the user select something between a set of options. I mean, I need to use QComboBox. So here I'm going to use self.dunder_city. The current city for me is Shiraz. It's one of the beautiful cities inside Iran. And I'm going to add another property here. Be careful to change age everywhere. Inside that property, I'm going to change it. No, not this one. This one, I'm going to change it, and also change this part, this part, this part, and also this part. So I'm going to say, please, first of all, we can use QLine edit or QLabel. QLabel, and get rid of these extra options. If I run it, city equals to zeros, that's okay. And I'm gonna change it to a QComboBox, QComboBox. For QComboBox, we need to provide items that we need to show inside the QComboBox when it opens. So here I'm gonna use combo underline items, and just like Python list, you should use bracket, and inside that bracket you can add as many items as you need to show inside that specific QComboBox, and you should separate them with semicolon. So I'm gonna use Tehran, Yazd. These are all Iran cities, big cities. Mashhad, Paris or Paris, and London. And also I'm gonna add Shiraz in the middle. Shiraz. So the output, if you run the application, the output is a QComboBox. The current value is Shiraz, and if you open it, you can see all those items that you mentioned inside combo items properties are shown here. Okay, if you change it, the change are also applied to the field. I forgot to add it here. Let's add it one more time. Self.city, and run the application one more time. Let's change it to London, and if I press OK, we can see the city changed to London. So this is the way that we can use QComboBox inside our object. First, you need to set the widget to QComboBox and provide combo items. This is the items that we need to display inside that specific combo items for city. Next item is Boolean value. In the field version, or in the first version, we use checkbox or QCheckBox for Boolean values, and right now we can use it again. So if I have a Boolean value, for example, self dunder student, is this person a student or not? By default, it's true. Okay, and I'm gonna add a property here. Copy this one and paste it. So let's do a little bit change. For city, change them to, and you can use Ctrl+D inside the VS Code, and I will do it for the next property. And here I'm gonna add student to the output. So if I run it, before I run it, I should use QCheckBox. Okay, and I don't need combo items again. So if I run it, you can see a checkbox is here, and if I unchecked it, the value also updated inside the object. And you can use all of these properties, for example, for checkbox. Let's see what we can change. And it's good to change. This is text. We don't need the checkable, auto repeats, nothing special. These are some rare values that we can use for a spin box. And also you can change the widget property. For example, let's see what is. I'm going to change this one, for example, to cross. Okay, the cursor to cross. Let's see where it comes from. The cursor. Let's change them. Cursor equal to okay, it's cute cursor, and let's use one of them, for example, cute cross. So if I run the application, oops, what's happened? Object Q has no attribute cross cursor. So it seems that it read from somewhere else. Let's check them. Okay, let's use this one. Maybe in pyqt it changed or it moved to some other place, and I should check it very soon. Let's do what's cursor. Okay, and this one also is not working. Let's see, let's check the problem. So I checked it, and right now we don't support the cursor change inside this version, and I should do a couple of things in future. Let's get rid of that and check another property. Let's see what we have. Yeah, these are some good properties, but let's use enabled, and I'm gonna check it to false. Enabled equal to false, so I'm gonna enabled equal to false or false. I'll run it, and you can see, the widget is on the form, but it's disabled because we set it to false. The enabled property set to false, and you cannot change it. So this is the way that you can disable the elements or the widgets on the form. The next item is when we want to get the user the ability to select some options from a collection. For example, this student have some courses. I'm gonna create a field name courses equal to, for example, course A and course D. And let's first create a property also. And copy this one. So here you can select the thing that you want to change and press Ctrl D as many times as you want, and then paste or type anything that you want to replace with that thing that you selected already. Now here I'm gonna add it to output self.courses. So how should I put this one to the output? Where is it? Yeah, it's here. So if you want to do it in a way that we did before in the previous version, you can use just list or QList widget here. If I run it, you can see a list with the two elements shown on the form, and you can also edit them. Okay, for example, change it to DD, AA, and also add BB, or change or remove the DD. And if you press OK, AA, BB is the final courses that this student have. So I want to, you can also use QList widget. The result is the same. Both are the same. And also you can get rid of these toolbox by using show tools equal to false. Equal to false. Yeah. If you run it, here we have only one list with the ability to edit the items, but the remove and add option are gone. So you can also change the current values, but you cannot add or remove item to the list or from the list. So we don't need to focus on this right now. The thing that I want to mention that here I'm gonna show a list of items that users are able to select among them. So you should use multi-choice, I think. I forgot it. Multi-choice, and also you should provide some items here. For items, again, it's just like the combo box. You should use a list with the semicolon separated values. For example, here I'm going to use A, B, C, D, E, and F. These are the predefined courses that our system currently support, and user can select as many as items from this list as he wants. Okay, let's run the application. Oops, what happens? What happened? What happened? Unsupported. Let's run it. Yeah, okay, it's okay. So as you can see, a list of checkbox will appear on the form, and two items A and D are selected because we said that this student take the A and D course already. So we can change it. For example, B, C, and D. If you save it, you can see B, C, D are now applied to the courses on the main object. And if items are too long, it also gets automatically scrolled, so you can scroll from the items without being worried the space that you need to put that widget on the form. So you can also change the orientation. If here you come and set orientation equal to horizontal. In the previous example, or in the slider example, horizontal is an enum, is declared inside an enum in Qt namespace, but right now it's a custom property that I added to this multi-choice widget. So you don't need to use Qt : horizontal. It's just a custom property, and you should use it the same way that I used here. So if you run it, oops, orientation. So the orientation changed, and you can see all the items are put together side by side. And if you just change the dialog size, you can see a scroll bar appear, and you can scroll through the items if there are so many, and also you can change it. So the A, D, F are now applied on the form. Now imagine that I want to let the user select one item instead of a collection inside a collection. Now here again we have a multi-choice widget, and for type we should use QRadioButton. By default we use QCheckBox, but you can override it by the type property. Now if you run the application, for this purpose you need to just mention one value. Okay, I'm gonna say that among these courses A to F, the student currently took A. Okay, now I'm gonna change it. So the A is currently took, so you can change it, for example, to D. Now you can just select one item from all the other items. So if you press OK, you can see the item also updated on the form because we do it on the background, and you should not worry about this type of things. And for the last thing, what if we have a dictionary? I'm gonna copy this value here. So that was the work hour. Let's change it. Let's let it as it is right now, the courses. And this is the course hours that we have through the year. In January 100 hours, in February 50 hours, and in March it's 120 hours. So I'm gonna use table or QTable widget. These are the same again. Let's So here I said that go and put a table on the form and fill it with the course's value. So if I run it, you can see again here we have a qtable widget with 2 columns, key and value, for those values that I just set inside the constructor: January 100, February 50, and March 120. And also you can remove the item or change the value, and also you can add the value here, something like this. And if I press OK, you can see the change applied to the object also. And as we had an option with the list, you can also mention here, I don't want those tools below the table. So you can just show tools and set it to false. If you run it, you can see those controls are gone, and right now you can see or edit. You can just edit the content of the field or the values on the form. So it get updated February to 111. So right now we have the support on the properties same as the field, but you should be aware to annotate it based on what you need inside this structure. You can use almost every property inside this part, especially those that are Boolean values or enum values or have some text values inside. And for the other ones, such as icon size, I need to do some other things to support them. And also for some of those widgets, such as multi-choice, I just removed it. We have another options, or for combo box, we have defined some custom options to fill the combo box or add the toolbox below the list box or the table widget also. And in the next step, I'm gonna add another. Let's uncomment these lines and run my application one more time. So in future, I'm gonna add the support to add object inside another object in a singular form. So you don't need to press this one and open another form. You can see all the items inside a panel here and change them inline, not going to another form. And also if you just have a list of objects, I'm gonna load them inside the qtable widget inside and each field inside that object is going to be a column inside that widget, so you can add them or edit the current state of those objects inline inside the table widget, and you should not go to another form. This is the next step for the next version of this widget. I would be glad to hear about your opinion.